Have you ever wondered what kind of legacy you'll leave behind? This morning's guest will share hers, and you'll love it. Who is she? You'll meet her coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in the lobby of the Conway Area Chamber of Commerce at 203 Main Street at the foot of the bridge in historic downtown Conway. We're focused on a legacy of love, and we're visiting with Donna Tyson, a national motivation speaker. Good morning, Donna.
How are you doing?
Thank you so much for coming in early on a Tuesday morning.
This is my favorite time of day.
How about this Conway Area Chamber of Commerce? Isn't this gorgeous? I wish viewers could see all the stuff on the ceilings here. It is an amazing facility. I saw walking in, there had been a building chairman, Benjamin Creel, who was a guest with us on the show last year. Tremendous setup in here.
It's beautiful.
You've been over here before?
I have not. This was my first time in.
It really is beautiful, yes. Thank you again for coming in, Donna. And so much going on right now.
I know.
You're traveling all over. It's amazing to get you actually in Horry County for a morning.
It's fun. I'm delighted to be here again.
You have been on the road a good bit,
I have. It's spring conference season. It's just now coming to a close, so I've been traveling a lot. I don't think I've been home more than 48 hours in the last month.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And this is the case for all national motivational speakers like yourself.
Right.
I mean, they're traveling. Spring conference season, it's a big time for
spring
big
and fall are big.
And so this is rolling out of the spring. Is summer ever a hot time for folks?
Rarely, because if they're bringing us in for conferences or for private business sessions, people are on vacation. And so typically we do beach retreats, or this is where I try to get the new seminars ready for the fall. We do a lot of booking of seminars, but not a lot of actual speaking in them.
Absolutely. That's tremendous, Donna. Seeing some back and forth recently, I was fascinated to see, and I'm so glad you helped provided some information of a recent presentation you made out in Iowa. It
was great. I've been doing this for 21 years, and this is the first time I ever had this experience. I spoke in Iowa and did a 4-hour session, a combination session on work-life balance and dealing with change, which are two of our most popular sessions. And one of the gentlemen in the audience scheduled me to come in and talk again to another group. And then from that group, this gentleman sat in the audience, and he wrote me an email afterwards and said how impressed he was and how it had touched his life, and that he would like to schedule a seminar of his own. And so I called and thought it was a business seminar. He is a broker with A.G. Edwards, and talked to him. But he had decided that he wanted to share the stories and the lessons in the seminar with the people he loved. Really? And so he scheduled a seminar 30 days out, and he flew all of his family in, all of his sons and their families, his sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles and all of his friends and major clients. He sent out over 400 invitations, ended up with 200 people, and he paid cash. And Greg, for a half a day, it was many, many thousands of dollars for me to do this.
Just for you, let alone
for me
bringing
to come,
all the folks in.
Absolutely. Yeah. And his wife baked homemade cookies for the day, and we had a high school auditorium. And he stood up and he said, you know, I've spent my life really focusing on being a successful businessman. And he said, I've been successful. I'm at a stage of my life now that I've decided that I want to leave a legacy. And he said, this was the way that I could leave this legacy with you. And when we talked, he wanted people to understand what a gift life was. And you know, it really, in preparing for the talk, he brought me into this little bitty town in Iowa. DeWitt, Iowa has 2 little street lights in it, and I had to stay in a Super 8 so I could be near the place. And it was just a really small town. I went to his house, and he had 3 Ferraris in the driveway. 3. They are his toys.
You were kidding.
No.
3 Ferraris.
And he travels in an elite Ferrari group internationally, and they do humanitarian projects when they get to the different countries. Just an incredibly wise, talented, gifted man. And but he wanted these people to know that he loved them. And I was so touched that he would take his time and money and invest in the people while he was alive, and had very specific messages that he wanted them to hear, and then did receptions and dinners afterwards so that we could talk one-on-one with the people.
It's tremendous, Donna.
It was just fascinating.
Well, now, of course, I don't want you to let all your secrets out, but we sure want to know a little bit, to give just a little bit of what you'd done there that really made such an impact on him in the first and second sessions, that he'd want to bring the family in and bring everyone in there to Iowa. Obviously, you're paid for your services
Absolutely.
to travel around, and that's what you do. But at the same time, can you give us a little bit of that, to give us a sense of what really made him recognize how powerful that was and wanted to share it with others?
Well, I think it's the message. It definitely isn't the presenter. I think it's the message. And I think the timing is correct. I think in our world today, people are really hungry to have a sense of purpose again, to understand what life is all about. And for many people, we've spent our lives trying to accumulate money so that we can take care of our families and leave them, some money afterwards. But in reality, that's transient. It passes. And, even in Jesus' time with his disciples, and I never thought about it until I started preparing this seminar, he could have given them great riches at any time. And he didn't. He didn't make them wealthy. He gave them a legacy of love. He taught them how to live in today's world with love and faith and trust and courage. And that's what I want to leave for my children, much more so than an inheritance. They might not like that right now. They might rather have the money. But I want to know that instilled within them are those things that understand that life is a gift, and that you've been given the gifts that you've been given to make a difference in the world. Right. And how do you start that conversation with the people you love?
Yes.
Do you know it usually takes a death, and then people are so emotional you don't want to bring it in and talk about it at that time. And so this was an opportunity for him to create a setting of celebration. Some people came out of obligation, but many people were touched that he would do this. Mm-hmm. And then to listen with no expectations to somebody talk about reclaiming your joy and just living life to its fullest again, and not being a victim, and taking steps to take the toxic influences that are in your life out of your life, just to come alive again. And so it created a wonderful opportunity to do that. And then lots of conversation afterwards.
So he, not to take anything away from his desire to really make an impact on those others, but he also utilized you essentially to share with much of the crowd,
Absolutely.
family and otherwise, that he wouldn't necessarily be handing all of his money over to them, but instead making a difference to others.
And I don't know that was his intent in it, but definitely he is investing his money in making a difference in the world on it. But I think, again, it was a heart legacy. And it's been fascinating to me because it's snowballed. People that sat in the session, and it's amazing that you would not know these people, and then they would contact you and share so much of their life story. People that were struggling with everyday problems everybody else has, with children that aren't living up to the expectations that they have, people that have illnesses, people that have gone through divorce, people that are sick, and really get caught up in dealing with the situation and forget that they have the power to go above the situation.
Or to end that situation,
yes. Absolutely. So I loved the whole concept, and it was wonderful for me to study and to prepare for it. But he'll never know how he touched my heart in setting an example for me to invest in the non-material things with the people you love.
That's tremendous, Donna. Now, for 21 years, you've been getting, whether it was emails in the last 10 years or so, but letters and emails over that time that are very similar in nature. Many of the talks you've given have really impacted others and put them to the test, their own personal test, so that they could share a lot with you.
Well, and we've talked a lot about this one-on-one. I get to do what I love. And all I do in my speaking are share the lessons that I'm learning in life. That's it. And I think they're lessons that everybody else goes through in life as well. And God has just really allowed me to use that to make a living in it, and and to touch people's lives. The day I can't do that anymore, I won't be speaking.
Right, yeah,
So-
yeah. No, that you won't. Let's hope that's a long way off.
I think it is.
I think
it
sure
is.
yeah.
I think it gets more powerful every year, and I think as I understand the lessons and start to apply them in my own life, you know, it's easy to study and give the lessons to somebody else, but as I can apply them in my life, they become more powerful.
You mentioned the enjoyment of potentially down the road being able to share with your family. You really want to highlight to them the gift of love and surely other non-material things. Speaking of family, do you have family here in the area, Donna?
I do not. I have 3 children.
Right.
I have a 28-year-old daughter who lives in Northern Virginia
Right.
and is trained as a nurse, but working as a systems analyst for a government contractor that she needed the nursing background.
Right.
She just got accepted into graduate school and is going to start in the fall.
Congratulations.
And she's my joy.
And she's in Virginia.
She's in Virginia.
Right.
Then I have a 27-year-old son who continues to just burn the candle from both ends and experience life in
Like
the
his
moment.
mama, yeah. Or maybe not experiencing surely burning the
I
candle.
hope I have a little more discipline,
Burning the candle with both ends.
but he
yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
has been a lot of joy and has taught me my hardest lessons in life as well. He's 27 and still trying to figure out exactly what he wants to
Is
do
he
with
in
his
Virginia
life.
as well?
He is.
Oh wow! So that
2
state
of them
has at
in
least
Virginia.
gotten 2 of them. Yeah.
And then I have a 24-year-old son who's in the Air Force and stationed at Travis Air Force Base, and he's actually here with me for a 2-week leave of absence,
Oh, great.
and I'm loving having him here. And it's been really interesting because he's always been my baby boy, but
Right.
he's a grown man now. And even with Carson, there's so much you want to talk to your children about life. And you don't want to sound like you're preaching to them, and you don't want to sound like you're prying, but you want to make sure that you have those conversations. And I think that's what this legacy of love thing is. I think there's a comparable thing, the last lecture. Have you heard of that? Where the college professor found out that he was ill, and he did a last lecture for his classroom, and it's gone all over the country, and it's a top-selling book. But it's very much written for his children, that he knows he's going to be gone from this earth in the next couple months.
Right.
And what did he want to leave his children? And it was, you know, his wisdom that he'd learned through his life and what he considered to be important.
Right.
And you've got Emma Claire. You're going to want to do
yes,
the same
absolutely.
thing.
As we think through
So
life and death issues, very definitely.
Yeah.
And we had a guest on last Thursday, the new managing director of a funeral home that just opened up in Myrtle Beach, and to hear him talk about the caring aspect and the families, as you said, oftentimes it's something as serious as death that brings people together so they can begin to have those conversations about near end of life experiences and the impact, leaving a legacy, or the legacy of love there, which is
well,
wonderful.
and even locally, I know in some of the leadership classes that are going on, they encourage people to think about people that have touched their lives, people that have made you think about the world in a more positive way, or that have been role models for you, heroes.
Right.
And to narrow it down to 2, no more than 3, and to contact those people. And that's been interesting because I had a voicemail left on my voicemail last week from someone going through a leadership class, and they said I had to pick 2 people that I looked up to and tell them why. And so I'm leaving this to tell you why I love you and what I think of you and why I admire you, and to thank you for doing that. And I thought, how many times do we take time to really call somebody and leave a message, or to write a letter to somebody and say, I just want you to know you make a difference?
Now, of course, when you're helping others, when you're helping get the word out, do you do the same thing, Donna? Do you force
Absolutely.
yourself to go ahead, and are those folks you could share with viewers, or is that something you keep close to your heart?
Oh, I absolutely feel free to
Who
do
are the
that.
2 or 3 folks that have had that big inspirational? Maybe your children, maybe folks around you.
Yeah, well, I'm very blessed with my family. You know, my father was the love of my life and a hero, and taught me a lot about pride, and that it wasn't money or a degree or where you lived or who you were kin to that gave you the ability to be proud of who you were. That it was when you did something you loved and you gave it the best you got. And Dad taught me a lot about that. He never had a lot of money to share, but he taught me a lot about holding your head up and the pride in it. And And a person that probably would never know they impacted me the way they did was the mayor of Fredericksburg, Virginia, in my early business years. And it was Mayor Lawrence Davies. And he was also a pastor. And he carried himself with such incredible dignity, always ethical, always positive, always caring. And when he prayed, it was like you were in the presence of God.
Wow.
And he was never ashamed to blend his spiritual beliefs with his work.
Right.
And that had an incredible impact on me, to see someone who was willing to do that. And it wasn't in your face. It was walking the talk.
Right, right.
So,
is your dad still living, Donna?
my dad passed.
He did,
That's how I ended up
yes.
at the beach.
Oh,
My father passed, and I'm at 62 years old. And then I found out shortly afterwards that I had a degenerative eye disease and was going blind in both eyes. And then my best friend died. And I just kind of went through a really crash period where everything I knew to be real kind of fell apart around me. And I came to the beach to heal. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time here.
And it's provided that vehicle very well, hasn't it?
It has.
Yeah.
It has been a great, great chapter for me. My first children's book was written here at the beach, The Red Bow, and that continues to be very successful, and I love it. And there's been a complete change in my speaking. The first 15 years of my speaking were really focused on how to be the best business person and how to carry yourself with pride and all the customer service techniques and communication techniques, and it was all business oriented. This chapter of my life has brought a much more spiritual focus to it, a slowing down, taking time to really look at what's important and what's universal and what matters. And it's brought a much more spiritual realm, a much more truthful realm to it. So it's been
wonderful,
fun.
Donna. Is your mother still living?
My mother is here in Surfside with me. We ride the golf cart often and
I love it.
go yard siling every Saturday
enjoying
morning.
having her grandson around.
She is. She has fixed him 2 homemade meals that have been wonderful. And she's traveling with me some these days. My mother and stepdad are in that chapter where health is starting to fail some. And it's a hard chapter when you're trying to take care of children that never really leave home. And then you have parents that their health is starting to fail, and the cycle of life kind of changes, and you become the adult taking care of them.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Donna, you know, one of our columnists, Betty Moses, 95-year-old father, has lived with her for a long time. Obviously, he wasn't 95 when he moved in, but he's 95 now. And to hear her go through those experiences in her column, in My Senior Moment, it's fascinating.
I love it.
Those.
And you know, it's a good thing to be near your parents in those years, because you realize everything that they have taught you. And I wouldn't trade these moments for anything in the world. Our culture doesn't do that very much. We move away from our parents, and our grandchildren don't get to know them as individuals and share that legacy.
That's a great point.
So
Donna, if a viewer needs to get off to work now or get family out of the house, what's the best way for someone to reach you if they wanted to learn more about your motivational speaking, or to possibly find out where you're going to be and see if they can get in on that?
Well, they can always go to my website at drtyson.com.
Right.
You can email me at Tyson Management, MNGT, at AOL.com.
Right, right.
And I think I said the website wrong, didn't I?
drtyson.com. No, you're right on there. Absolutely.
I don't go to my own website very often. Or they can call me at 843-213-2128.
213-2128, a local number.
If I'm in town, I'm always at the beach at pre-dawn. So if the sun comes up at 6, I'm there at 6:45.
I love it. We were kind enough to leave the beach to come in here to be with us this morning at 7. So
I think I still have a little bit of sand on my toes.
I see it. Viewers can't catch you with this table here. Speaking of that, there's a book here on the table. We got about 5 minutes, Donna, and this looks like a great, I think it ties into a new seminar. Is that the ethics?
Sure.
And the bottom line?
Ethics in the Bottom Line is the new seminar that I'm doing for the Society of Human Resource Management all over the country. It's all the HR directors all over the country, and we're doing their town hall meetings. And this seminar has been fascinating, and it really does build on what we just talked about. This book is one that I found. It's a little paperback book. It's called The Power of Ethical Management, and it's by Ken Blanchard and Norman Vincent Peale. and really talks about bringing ethics back into our workplace.
Right.
And it's a whole nother seminar, but he goes into 5 P's and giving a sense of purpose, a sense of pride, having patience, persistence, and perspective. And it's just a really good book to get you thinking about, again, how to blend the things you believe in your daily life with your workplace setting.
And that's common with great motivational speakers, is to look back at other folks. Norman Vincent Peale,
sure.
obviously well-loved, Kenneth Blanchard, well-known,
Absolutely.
respected, and taking some of their, not ideas, but things they recognize and building on them or changing them. Or, I mean, does that happen for all motivational speakers? Yeah.
Because the truth is the truth.
Right.
And you really start to be amazed at how many different people share the same truth through their own lessons in life.
Yes.
And it all starts to come together when you see so many successful people build their careers and their life philosophies on the same principles.
Right. How exciting, Donna.
It is. It's fun. I'm in a good chapter of life, and I appreciate so much you letting me be here with you and
you've got a
continue to
great litany
update.
of wonderful seminar opportunity. I mean, speaking topics on your website.
Sure.
Lots of different ones. Are there ones that you were doing early in your career in the first part, even though you highlighted a lot of that was business related? Were there some types like the Legacy of Love, some of the early ones that you were...
Well, the Pride and Professionalism is one that you always update. You always bring it current. And living here at the beach, the Riding the Crest is a great seminar because it really takes the lessons of the ocean and how the waves build and then break and compares them to our own emotional cycles in life and times where we're on fire and times where we're just pulling back.
Now, would you ever take those, like the Crest, and take it to the life to places like Davenport, Iowa?
Absolutely.
To places where it's almost difficult for them to imagine.
Oh, but everybody dreams of the ocean. You can take the ocean with you anywhere you go in the country, and everybody wishes they could live here with us at the beach.
Yes,
and we're really living the dream, aren't we?
Absolutely.
That we can
We're
go
here
there
in
every
Conway
day.
in the
When's the
beautiful
last
setup.
time you were at the beach?
Yeah, that's a great... It's a little early in the morning to beat me up on that early on a Tuesday morning. That's a great question. I know you do get out there a lot, which is why
Every
you go
morning.
every morning. Yeah.
Every morning. It is my reminder that it's a new day and that God's in control. And it's what I give back to God that day that's my give back.
And you see God when you're out there walking on the beach. I guess you
I
see him all the time.
absolutely
You see him
do.
now, sure, but I mean in a different way.
It is my sanctuary.
Right.
For me, it's like the birth of a child. I don't know how you can go to the ocean and watch the sun rise and watch the waves, know exactly how far to come and see what God's created and not just take a breath that you're part of something bigger.
Yeah. I got to ask you that because I was asked you. I told you that before we began. That idea, Donna, for you, who has done so much and made a difference on so many others' lives, whether it's this gentleman and all of his extended family there in Iowa, or folks up and down the East Coast or throughout the country. The impact of what can you imagine what you'd be doing if you weren't doing that and traveling around and really relating to others in a way?
Be an evangelist.
Yeah.
If I wasn't a motivational speaker,
Yeah.
I would be. I went to school to be a missionary,
Is that
and
right?
I think I would still be doing that. And in my own funny way, I think that's exactly what God has me doing. I don't teach denomination. I don't teach religion, but I definitely talk about the gift of life. And you can't talk about that without sharing the things you believe in.
And do folks you're speaking to enable you to do like the mayor did there in Virginia and enable you to use Christianity or use Christ in your messages without being direct? Or,
Have to be very careful in the private setting.
Sure.
But there's no way you can listen to me speak and not know that what I believe in. Mm-hmm. And so I try not to offend anyone in any way. But if I'm going to speak from the heart and I speak my truth, you're going to know where I draw my strength from by the end of the seminar.
That's great, Donna. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you
this
for
morning.
letting me
Sorry,
be
we're running out of
here.
time. You look great.
I'll see you at the
Keep it up.
beach.
Yes, absolutely. I may get out there tomorrow morning. Stay tuned to a little more of Donna Tyson, a national motivational speaker, coming up next. I was thinking of some really creative ways to wrap Donna, but it's tough to do that. Instead, I love one of these fan letters that Donna got. It was the gentleman she talked about early in the interview, Stan Reed, from Iowa, and he sums it up as well as anything. The first time I heard Donna present her work-life balances in dealing with change talk was a wow. I woke up early the next morning and thought, you know what? Every person that I personally care about needs to hear this talk. I figured if it cost me $10,000 personally for them to hear her message, it was worth it. Once I booked the date with Donna, I compiled the list of people that I wanted to invite. It included my immediate family, my siblings, my relatives, everyone that works in my office, friends, club acquaintances, and clients. We sent out about 400 invitations and ended up with over 150 people attending the event. I've been overwhelmed with all the thank you notes, letters, and calls I've received from those who attended whom she had a similar impact on. Many of those who responded noted they wish their adult children or spouses could have been there to hear Donna's inspirational message. Some of them have already contacted management level people in their workplace, suggesting they may want to get Donna in to help them with improving communications and dealing with change in their respective work environment. I've heard some great talks in my life, including nationally renowned motivational speakers, but she tops them all. She's a phenomenal communicator. Today is the day to book Donna. Now it's a non-commercial show, but still, today is the day to book Donna to share her message with all those people who you truly care about. Stan Reed, there in May of this year. How about it? Donna Tyson making a difference every day. Keep up the great work.
God bless.
Thanks so much for being here.